In activity 2.1, we are asked to collect these samples and we are supposed to observe the color change associated with these samples upon using these indicators. Litmus solution indicator is red in acidic solution, blue in basic, and purple in neutral solution. Phenolphthalein is colorless in acidic and neutral solution, becomes pink in basic solution. Methyl orange is red in acidic, yellow in basic, and orange in neutral solution. These are the samples which we are supposed to test. Let us find out which one is acidic and which one is basic. First one is hydrochloric acid, acidic in nature, sulfuric acid, acidic in nature, nitric acid, acidic, acetic acid, acidic, sodium hydroxide is basic, calcium hydroxide is basic, potassium hydroxide is basic, magnesium hydroxide basic, and ammonium hydroxide basic. Litmus solution is red in acidic solution, so red litmus solution is supposed to remain red with the first 4 samples. Red litmus solution will change to blue color with the remaining basic samples. If we take the blue litmus solution with the acidic samples, it changes to red. Blue litmus solution will remain blue with the basic samples. Phenolphthalein indicator is colorless in acidic samples and becomes pink in basic samples. Methyl orange is red in acidic samples and becomes yellow in basic samples. Activity 2.2 is about olfactory indicators. Here we are supposed to take chopped onion and 2 clean cloth strips and put them inside the plastic bag. Leave overnight inside the fridge or for about 12 hours. After 12 hours, content of the onion will be absorbed by the cloth strip. Now, put few drops of dilute HCl on one cloth strip and few drops of dilute sodium hydroxide on another cloth strip. Leave it for few minutes. After that, give a clean wash with water and cross-check the smell of onion present in those two cloth strips. Similarly, we have to take vanilla essence and clove oil. Both of them are liquid in nature. Put few drops of acid and base into these two essence and cross-check what happens to its smell in acidic and basic solution. Expected results are onion, clove oil and vanilla beans are expected to retain its odor or smell in acidic solution and they are expected to lose their odor in basic solution. In activity 2.3, we are supposed to take 5 ml of dilute sulfuric acid in a test tube. Add few zinc granules to it. Observe what happens inside the test tube. If any gas gets released in this experiment, pass that through the soap solution. This gives us bubbles which includes the air released from this experiment. Now, take a burning candle or burning matchstick near these air bubbles. Make observation. Repeat this experiment by replacing sulfuric acid with hydrochloric acid, nitric acid, and acetic acid. Reaction between zinc and dilute sulfuric acid gives us zinc sulfate solution and releases hydrogen gas. This gas burns with a pop sound when burning candle is taken near the soap bubble. Even with the other acids, it will release the same gas, that is hydrogen. With HCl, zinc will give zinc chloride salt. With HNO3, it gives zinc nitrate salt. And with acetic acid, it gives zinc acetate salt.
All right, so here is a tub of soapy water. So see the soap that's right over there?
Yep.
I had some before, but just a little bit for good measure. So there's our soap. And now I've got a balloon of just oxygen. Okay, so this is just pure oxygen.
Right.
All right, so we're going to bubble down just pure oxygen. Good. All right, so what happens now, Becky, when we light pure oxygen on fire?
I don't know, Steve. And
Here,
I'm quite honestly
the
frightened.
camera can't really see that, so here, dip your hands down in here for a
Okay.
second. Good. Good. Now scoop up some of the oxygen bubbles. Good. And so let's light them on fire. See?
Nothing.
Nothing happens. See, oxygen is not explosive.
Right.
Oxygen helps support combustion, but by itself, it's not explosive. See how it burns
pops
just a
the
little bit
bubbles.
bright? Yeah, so it's not bad at all.
Yeah.
So now, what if we did this? This balloon here, however, has 2 parts hydrogen,
Yeah.
1 part oxygen. So what will that make? What's 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen?
H2O.
See, that degree paid off. So this is
I-
perfect,
yes.
all right? So now, see, I didn't tell you that ahead of time. So now here, watch what we're going to do. Dip your hands down again, so
Okay.
make them, they're wet. Okay, so pull them back out. Now I'm going to make bubbles here, all right? So here's our bubbles. And what I want you to do is I'm going to ask you to scoop up some of those bubbles, all right? So it's okay, scoop up some of the bubbles. Good job. Hold them in your hand.
Yes.
Oh, wait, here, just take them off. Put on your earplugs. Would you do that?
Oh,
Put on
yeah.
Your, yeah,
Hold on.
it's okay.
Let me
So
take
put
out
on your,
my eye
and they look so good, too.
Sorry, Brooke, I can't hear you anymore.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So now scoop up some bubbles. Good.
Okay.
Okay, good. So scoop. Oh, good. And so now we light them on fire. Isn't that amazing? See? So that's 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part. You want to do it again? Let's do it
Yes,
again. All right.
please.
So this is 2 parts hydrogen.
being
Phil,
scared
I
out
forgot
of
to
my
tell you,
body.
cover your ears. All right. So 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. So what we get is this tremendous release of energy, but it didn't hurt that bad, did it?
It didn't
It didn't
hurt
hurt
at
at all.
all.
Right? Do 2 parts hydrogen, 1. Isn't
Holy
that
cow.
amazing?
Activity 2.4 is very much like activity 2.3. Here, instead of dilute sulfuric acid, we will be taking sodium hydroxide. In this test tube, now we have sodium hydroxide and zinc granules. Released gas of this experiment has to be passed through soap solution. That will give us soap bubbles, which includes the gas released in this experiment. Now, take a burning candle or burning matchstick near the soap bubble and make observation. Reaction which happens in this experiment is zinc reacting with sodium hydroxide, giving sodium zincate salt and releases hydrogen gas. So, when burning candle is taken near the soap bubble, this will burn with a pop sound. In activity 2.5, we are supposed to take sodium carbonate and sodium hydrogen carbonate salt in 2 separate test tubes, and we are supposed to add dilute hydrochloric acid to both the test tubes. Released gas has to be passed through lime water, that is nothing but calcium hydroxide solution. Reaction between sodium carbonate and HCl gives sodium chloride salt solution, releases carbon dioxide gas and water liquid. Released carbon dioxide gas, when passed through lime water, forms insoluble white precipitate of calcium carbonate. This is nothing but lime water turning milky. Even with sodium bicarbonate, HCl gives same products, that is sodium chloride solution, carbon dioxide gas and water liquid. Released carbon dioxide gas, when passed through lime water, turns lime water milky. Activity 2.6 is about indicators. Here we are asked to take dilute sodium hydroxide solution in a test tube. It is okay even if we take dilute sodium hydroxide solution in a beaker. Dilute NaOH is a colorless solution. Sodium hydroxide is a water-soluble base. More specifically, it can be called as an alkali. We are asked to add phenolphthalein indicator to dilute sodium hydroxide solution. After the addition of phenolphthalein, color of the solution changes to pink, meaning phenolphthalein indicator becomes pink in basic medium. To this solution, now we are asked to add dilute hydrochloric acid drop by drop. When we start to add dilute hydrochloric acid to this solution, pink color of the solution starts to become dull. At one point, it becomes colorless. At this point, we say all sodium hydroxide in the beaker reacted with HCl to form sodium chloride and water, meaning complete neutralization occurred. Now to this neutralized solution, if we add few drops of sodium hydroxide, again solution becomes basic, hence color of the solution changes to pink again. Activity 2.7. Take a small amount of copper oxide in a beaker and add dilute hydrochloric acid slowly while stirring. Note the color of the solution. What has happened to the copper oxide? Copper oxide is a black color powder. Upon addition of dilute hydrochloric acid to copper oxide, it forms cupric chloride salt, which is greenish in color and releases water. Activity 2.8 is about conducting capacity of a solution. In this experiment, fix two iron nails on a rubber cork. Place it inside the beaker. Connect these two iron nails to a battery through switch and a bulb. Fill the beaker with dilute hydrochloric acid solution. Switch on the current and cross-check whether the bulb is glowing or not. If the solution is conducting, then the bulb will glow. If it is not conducting, then bulb will not glow. Repeat the experiment by replacing hydrochloric acid with sulfuric acid solution, glucose and alcohol. In this experiment, we are considering the solution of these samples in water. HCl and sulfuric acid in water form ions, whereas alcohol and glucose just dissolves and will be there in the molecular form. For a solution to conduct or for the bulb to glow in this experiment, there should be ions in the solution. So, in this experiment, HCl and sulfuric acid solution will make the bulb to glow, whereas with alcohol and glucose case, bulb doesn't glow. Activity 2.9 is about acids and bases. In this activity, we take sodium chloride in a test tube and add concentrated sulfuric acid to it. After the addition of sulfuric acid, we close the mouth of the test tube using a cork having a delivery tube in it. Acid In this experiment, sodium chloride reacts with concentrated sulfuric acid, releasing hydrogen chloride gas and Na2SO4. When dry litmus paper is put on HCl gas, color of the litmus paper remain as such. When wet litmus paper is put on HCl gas, blue color of the litmus paper changes to red. What it means is HCl can act as an acid only in the presence of water. Activity 2.1 is about dilution of sulfuric acid and dissolution of sodium hydroxide pellets in water. Both of these are exothermic change where heat gets liberated. So we will be feeling the heating up of beaker. On sodium hydroxide bottle and concentrated sulfuric acid bottle, we will see this symbol because both of them are corrosive in nature. This symbol indicates the corrosive nature of those chemical compounds. In activity 2.11, we are asked to find out the pH of these solutions using pH paper. Color coding of pH paper is given here and approximate pH values of these samples are listed here. In activity 2.13, we are asked to write the formulae of these salts and identify the acids and bases from which these salts are made up of. Salts having the same positive or same negative ions are said to belong to the same family. We also have to identify the number of families present in this group of salts. Formula of these salts are listed here. First 5 salts are having same anion, that is sulfate, so they belong to one family called as sulfate family. Next 3 salts, that is sodium chloride, sodium nitrate, sodium carbonate plus sodium sulfate, are having same cation, that is sodium, so they belong to sodium salt family. Ammonium chloride and sodium chloride, these two salts have same anion, that is chloride, so they belong to chloride salt family. Together we have 3 families in this group of salts. To find out the acid and base component present in a particular salt, add OH minus to the cation and H plus to the anion. Accordingly, we get potassium hydroxide as a base present in K2SO4 and sulfuric acid as the acid component of K2SO4. Similarly, Na2SO4 is made up of sodium hydroxide and sulfuric acid. Calcium sulfate is made up of calcium hydroxide and sulfuric acid. Magnesium sulfate is made up of magnesium hydroxide and sulfuric acid. Copper sulfate is made up of cupric hydroxide and sulfuric acid. Sodium chloride is made up of sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. Sodium nitrate is made up of sodium hydroxide and nitric acid. Sodium carbonate is made up of sodium hydroxide and carbonic acid. Ammonium chloride is made up of ammonium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid. We know that salt will take the nature of strong acid or strong base component present in it. If we mark the strength of these bases and acids, potassium hydroxide is a strong base, sodium hydroxide is also strong base, sulfuric acid is a strong acid. So all sulfuric acids are strong acids. Calcium hydroxide is a weak base. Magnesium hydroxide is a weak base. Cupric hydroxide is also a weak base. Sodium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid, both of them are strong base and acid respectively. Sodium hydroxide is strong. Nitric acid is also a strong acid. Carbonic acid is a weak acid. Ammonium hydroxide is a weak base. Hydrochloric acid is a strong acid. Accordingly, K2SO4 must be a neutral salt whose pH is equal to 7. Sodium sulfate is also made up of strong base and strong acid. So this is also a neutral salt with pH equal to 7. Calcium sulfate strong component is acid, that is sulfuric acid. So pH of calcium sulfate must be less than 7. So it is an acidic salt. Magnesium sulfate salt is having sulfuric acid as a strong component. So this is also an acidic salt with pH less than 7. Copper sulfate is having sulfuric acid as a strong component. So this is also an acidic salt with pH less than 7. Sodium chloride is made up of strong base and strong acid. So this is a neutral salt with pH equal to 7. Sodium nitrate is also made up of both strong components. So this is also a neutral salt with pH equal to 7. Sodium carbonate is having sodium hydroxide base as the strong component. So sodium carbonate is a basic salt with pH greater than 7. Ammonium chloride is having hydrochloric acid as a strong component in it. So it is an acidic salt with pH less than 7. Activity 2.14. Here we are asked to find out the solubility of these salts and nature of the salt solution using a litmus paper. Also, we are asked to find out the pH of these salts using pH paper. After that, we are asked to identify the acid and base component present in that salt. All these salts are soluble in water. Let us try to find out the nature of these salts. In order to find out the acid and base component present in this salt, we have to add OH minus to the cation and H plus to the anion. Accordingly, sodium chloride is made up of HCl and sodium hydroxide. Potassium nitrate is made up of HNO3 and potassium hydroxide. Aluminium chloride is made up of HCl and aluminium hydroxide. Zinc sulfate is made up of sulfuric acid and zinc hydroxide. Copper sulfate is made up of sulfuric acid and cupric hydroxide. Sodium acetate is made up of acetic acid and sodium hydroxide. Sodium carbonate is made up of carbonic acid and sodium hydroxide. Sodium bicarbonate is made up of carbonic acid and sodium hydroxide. If we assign the strength to these acids and bases, HCl is a strong acid. HNO3 is also a strong acid. Sulfuric acid is a strong acid. Acetic acid is a weak acid. Carbonic acid is a weak acid. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base. Potassium hydroxide is also a strong base. Aluminium hydroxide is a weak base. Zinc hydroxide is also weak. Cupric hydroxide is weak. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base. We know that salt will take the nature of strong acid or strong base component present in it. Accordingly, sodium chloride must be a neutral salt. Potassium nitrate is also a neutral salt because both components are strong. Aluminium chloride is acidic. Zinc sulfate is acidic. Copper sulfate is acidic. Sodium acetate is basic. Both sodium carbonate and sodium bicarbonates are basic salts. So, sodium chloride salt solution pH must be equal to 7, neutral. Acidic solution means it must be less than 7. Basic means it must be greater than 7. This activity is about water of crystallization. We are supposed to take copper sulfate crystals in a test tube and heat it. Observe the color of crystals before heating and after heating. Observe the surface of test tube for the deposition of water. After heating the crystals, again add few droplets of water into the crystal and observe any color change. Here, before heating, copper sulfate is blue in color and the formula of the salt is CuSO4.5H2O. When we heat it, these 5 water molecules escape off and deposit on the walls of the test tube. Then we get just CuSO4, that is white in color. This can be called as anhydrous copper sulfate. Again, when we add few droplets of water to this anhydrous copper sulfate, we get back the blue color indicating CuSO4 pentahydrate is again formed. This group activity is about using beetroot as a natural indicator. We have to get the beetroot extract by crushing it in a mortar and then filtering it. Then take lemon juice, soda water, vinegar and baking soda in 4 different test tubes and add 2 to 3 drops of beetroot extract into it and observe the color change. Beetroot retains its color in acidic solution and changes to yellow in basic solution. Lemon juice consists of citric acid, which is acidic in nature. Soda water consists of carbon dioxide dissolved in water, that is nothing but carbonic acid. This is also acidic. Vinegar consists of acetic acid. This is also acidic in nature. Baking soda is nothing but sodium bicarbonate. This is basic in nature. So, we expect the beetroot extract to retain its color with first 3 samples and changes to yellow with baking soda.